So our vision for this is really one of collaboration with stakeholders, including universities who are on the call, people who have connections with universities, and with the ACEN Foundation. And when Jocelyn and Caroline introduce themselves, they can mention how this has happened. So there's quite a lot of interest in this. And then thinking even wider, we are aware of the great work the Ellen MacArthur Foundation has done in providing courses, materials for the circular economy in around the world. And we're looking here to have something more Africa specific. On a completely related but unrelated note, which doesn't really feature here, we've been started to work with some people in Portugal and Latin America and potentially Asia with somebody who has got the idea to develop a global circular economy education standard and develop material globally, which I think is extremely ambitious. So we're here focusing on Africa because a lot of the Eurocentric programs don't take into account some of the contextual matters and different sub-regional matters. So anyway, I think I've said enough. Back to you, Katerina.
Thanks, Peter. I think, yeah, anyone who wants to introduce, take the floor. Otherwise, I will pick out people.
I will go.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. My name is Ntobeko from Ben Peter Green Materials. And what we try to do as a business is to apply circular economy principles in all the work that we do. And I think that is how I ended up here as the member of ACEN myself. And I see, you know, next to my name, there is African Research Universities Alliance. It is also a networking type of an organization, but amongst universities in the continent. And the arrangement that we have is that of collaboration, where when there are calls, you know, we will respond together. As an example, we recently responded on a climate finance accelerator call for proposals, which is funded by the UK government. So Ben Peter and University of Stellenbosch Center of Excellence for Energy as part of ARUA, we worked together on that response. So that is where ARUA comes in. And for us, this is really, you know, an exciting opportunity to be part of this group. Both speakers before me mentioned doing something that is specific for Africa. And for me, that is very close to my heart because I think we're in a stage in the world where we need African solutions for African problems. Because if you can look at the history of the continent, we have been a net importer of solutions for a very long time. And I think it is now time that, you know, we do it ourselves. And I think this course that we are hoping and trying to put together, it will talk exactly to that, because if you look at circular economy, it is a economy on its own, because it's all about, you know, how you do things differently. And for me, the vision is to see a gap being bridged between institutions of higher learning and industry, whereby, you know, the content of the courses and the research that is being undertaken by these universities with brilliant minds, it actually talks to the real problems that we experience as industry. So for me, that collaboration and that talking to each other becomes very important. And I think, Katarina, what you are doing at UJ is quite exciting. And I am of a firm belief that offline we will talk to see, you know, what can be worked on together. As a result, Also emanating from the Arua collaboration, I just got off a meeting for a complete new development of a township in the Northwest. You would know where that is, Katrina, where there is going to be a solar plant and a biochemical plant and a office park and a 2,500 units of, residents. So it's a mixed development. So those are exciting opportunities, exciting times, and my belief is circular economy and its principles can be applied across the board, across all industry. So it is exciting to be here. Thank you.
Perfect. I think I will just go down my list, then I will give the word to Jocelyn next.
Okay, good morning, everyone. It's still morning here. So I'm Jocelyn Andritona from Cameroon. I am an executive team member of the African Circular Economy Network and now an associate consultant with the African Circular Economy Network Foundation. And my background is in forestry science, but I have a great interest in circular economy and have been involved in circular economy for close to 2 years now, because it is directly related to natural resource management. So that was what spoke my interest in circular economy, how we can use circular economy to better manage natural resources in Africa, because we know many economies in Africa rely on natural resource exploitation, and from the way things are going, people just act as if the resource will never perish. So circular economy comes in as a very important tool to help for sustainable management of natural resources. So we have a great interest, both ACEN and ACEN Foundation have a great interest in developing this course, because we need to build capacity of next leaders, because this is the only sustainable way to create change, because we need to educate the next leaders. We need to educate them, because they are the ones who are going to take decisions tomorrow, and they are the ones who are going to be the consumers tomorrow as well. So it is very important for us to see how we can instill circular economy knowledge in them, both in the academia and those who are in businesses. So I am very happy to be part of this group, and I look forward to learning and sharing with all of you. Thank you.
Thanks, Jocelyn. Rob?
Am I next? Oh.
Yes, you're next on my list.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm looking at the agenda list. Sorry, sorry, Katrina. Okay, so I'm Rob Fenter. I'm from School of Business Sciences at Wits University in Johannesburg. And my interest really in circular economy sits at the intersection between business, particularly entrepreneurship, and as well as the informal economy, and how we can realize circularity at that particular level. So I'm particularly interested to hear what Ntobeko was saying about the new township initiative. That's particularly exciting from our side, or from my side at least. Our involvement with ACEN, as Peter's already pointed out, stems from the memorandum of agreement or understanding that we have in place, particularly around education and research within the circular economy space. Thank you.
Perfect, that sounds exciting. Then I will give the word to Rose.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a great following, Rob, Rose. Anyway, yeah, my name is Rose, and great to be here and to see you all. I've met Peter, of course. I've met Jocelyn. I don't think I've met others. I think Rob, we've had an email exchange, I think.
Yes, we have, yeah.
Yeah.
Yet to meet, but glad to meet now. All right.
I know, right? Yes, I'm working with the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, and I'm working closely with the African Leadership University. I thought Ash was going to be here, but I'm sure we shall have him some next time. great to hear that the course development is soon kicking off. And for me, that makes me happy because given that now joined in the circular economy kind of career and seeing how things are different in terms of the courses that we have at the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, they're very Euro-US centric. And that is why I'm working on this project. It's the only project that we have on the African continent, and we're trying to ensure that we try to address the context and the African context and issues and challenges. So working with the African Leadership University, we are aiming to support them so that they establish themselves as a leading circular economy learning higher educational institute. And but also we're looking at other universities across the continent to form kind of a circular economy community where they can share lessons, failures, and collaborate, and also have them get exposed to other universities we are working with in Europe, in China, and in Brazil. So far we have like the African Leadership University that is profiled on our website. We have Inkscape Design School in South Africa. We have the University of Stellenbosch, but we're also having, I think, the University of Lagos in the pipeline, Mauritius University in the pipeline, and Ibadan University also in the pipeline. Yeah, so other things you're doing is like the learning programs. You're developing online learning programs. There's one called Inside the Circular Economy. I'm going to share the link in the chat. This one you could share widely. It's we're already registering interest, but right now we are really doing the kind of organizational bit, content design, looking out for speakers, and we're going to cover topics from plastics, climate change, fashion, systems thinking, circular design, mostly. So that one is, so that we're expecting over 1,000 participants online, but also we're also having another program for the younger generation, kind of the 13 to 18-year-olds. But then from this one, the link I've shared is that at the end, we're going to have a more intensive program, which will be face-to-face, hosted by the African Leadership University, the Rwanda campus, and we shall be there in April next year. So we shall have selections from the online participants and then do a more intensive circular economic workshop in Rwanda. Yeah, so it's quite an experience being the foundation's first project on the continent. Very many lessons, but I think we shall learn more lessons once our first program starts running. I think next year is when we shall have incorporate the lessons that we've learned. I think I'll be in touch with Jocelyn, or if anyone is interested, because the whole format of the program is like the EMF, the Ellen MacArthur Foundation staff or expert will be talking to someone on the ground in preference of a practitioner who is hands-on and discussing about those circular economy topics. So if you have preference for a certain topic, or you have someone who could speak on those topics, just let me know. Yeah, talking a lot, sorry about that.
No, I think that's great, because I think that's exactly kind of confirming what Peter and I already looked at, the various contents, and that there is very little on the African continent, but it's great that content is being developed and it's a learn and progress. And I think we will have the same within the consortium that we are having now. And then I will give the word to Caroline.
Yep. Hi, hello, my name is Caroline Bourget. I'm from the ACEN Foundation. And I don't know actually, Peter and Katarina, if everybody here is aware of the difference between ACEN and ACEN Foundation, or if it's worth me saying a few words about it.
Yes, please do.
Okay, so ACEN Foundation is a new non-for-profit organization. We were officially launched a couple of months ago. And it's actually a collaboration between ACEN and Trinomics, public policy consultancy based in the Netherlands. Last year, ACEN and Trinomics collaborated on a project for the EU on circular economy cooperation between the EU and Africa on circular economy. One of the key findings from this project was the need for capacity building on circular economy in Africa. And so the two organizations are coming together through the foundation to push this forward. So I'm not a circular economy expert, I'm not an academic. I was very much at the beginning in charge of setting the foundation and making sure it's up and running. So I'm here more for my own personal knowledge and to find out about what's been done so far so that we don't duplicate anything or compete with anything. So very much keen to hear about what is already in place and what is planned.
Perfect. But I think it's great to have a person from the complete outside with us as well. That will really help us as well. So I think everyone is welcome. And then I will give the word to Helen as well.
Hi, everyone. It's quite a pleasure to meet you guys and to to feel your passion for circular economy. And it's amazing to talk to these cute, clever people today. I'm the head of School of Business Sciences, and Rob told me about this network, and I would say it's a brilliant one. I have had interest in circular economy, even though I'm not an expert in it, by doing some little things even within my home. If you go into my cupboard, I'm washing all the plastic bags to reuse them. And so when Rob told me about your group and what you're doing, I was so interested. I had written proposals. Is it 2 years ago? We wrote a proposal with a team of researchers in Belgium, Italy, Nigeria, and I forgot the other country. And we were looking for European Commission's funding, millions, to run a project on circular economy. And we didn't get the funding. We have the proposal. We are thinking about how we can push it forward. And I'm happy that you guys are doing what you're doing. Because if we don't start thinking on how we can recycle all of this that we are using, because definitely you would agree that there is overconsumption of some elements. And the plastic bags, I'm worried about the plastic bag issues on our planet. If you drive around South Africa, when it has to rain and there is this breeze and wind, you see the plastic bags coming up, it's just so horrible. And I applaud the efforts of food lovers supermarket. They are using papers now. Even when we're doing the project, I wrote to them to use them as a case study. So coming up with this course would be a brilliant one. And since you're taking it to be about Africa, it's a very good thing. I watched the interview of Mel Gibson, who acted The Passion of Christ, if you have watched that movie. And they asked him that, are you a Christian before you acted this movie? He said, nah, I wasn't really a Christian. After acting Christ, are you now a Christian? And he said, obviously, I can't read about this man's life and not be part of who he stood for. So you guys are doing this. It's a course. Definitely, if the students learn about everything about circular economy, they will be part of the drive to protect the environment, and I'm sure they will do their best. And if you want me to be involved, we can create a project where students will do their research around circular economy. I've even started 3 honor students asked me for a research topic, and I told them, go and study about the attitude and how we can change people's behavior about protecting the environment, especially in terms of plastic bag, management. So they did their honors on that. Thank you.
Great. I think that's fascinating to have so many people coming together. And I love that also Wits and UJ sits in the same call, because I think as universities, we have to learn a lot ourselves. And that starts in front of our own doorsteps on our campus management as well. Since the agenda, we're not really keeping to the timeline at all. I know that we wanted to discuss a lot, or Peter and I were really wanting to push forward. I think I will just propose that we have another follow-up meeting. But I think after now the introduction, what we can actually talk about is, how did you guys imagine that course? What is your first thoughts that come to your mind? Do you want it open source? Because I think there's a lot of talk that we need to have around that course content, especially if it's developed with universities. I know universities are sometimes very protective of their IP. Personally, I think it should be open source, because obviously it should be accessible to a lot of people. But I think, yeah, people can just basically raise their opinions. I see already, Jocelyn, you have your hand up, so the word is yours.
Okay, thank you, Katrina, for giving me the floor. I will go in the same vein with you, that it should be open source. But I don't know what you see in the open source package, because what I see here is that universities that are maybe on this call, and other universities maybe that are going to join us later, because it will be very appropriate for us to have a global landscape representation of all the African sub-region, because of their peculiarities together, to make sure we have a more holistic approach in developing a course that will integrate all how can I say, all key sectors in various sub-regions, because we might have natural resource of forestry here in Central Africa as our main point, but maybe in South Africa, it might be mining, maybe in East Africa, it might be tourism. So just to make sure we have our key interests somehow put into the course. So we can, what I see here is that we can have it first of all delivered to universities that vote for the creation of the course. Then we can now use the course and give guest lectures to other universities that are not on the call. So that is the way I see it.
Perfect. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, I think that also relates back to a discussion Peter and I had on the content, because that's also something. How do we package this course? How big should the course be? Okay, there's a lot of hands going up. I will give it to Rose first. I think, Rose, you were first, and then Peiko, I will give it to you second.
Yeah, I think mine is more of what are we aiming at in this course? What do we want to achieve? And then I think from that, if, for example, we are targeting, let's say, businesses, then there we may not make it open source. But if we are targeting a certain group of people, then we'll need to make it open source. Or maybe do we start with just an introductory course, and then with the introductory course later on we proceed to, like, okay, now we are going specific to maybe sectors, or I just don't know. And yeah, I think, and then is it an interactive course? Do we have a platform whereby participants can be able to, like, speak out what they think about, give feedback or contribute, or give case studies that they think about? I think if we have I think we can also discuss about such grounds.
Thanks. Okay, someone else.
Thank you. I think I want to agree with Rose because that was my same line of thought, to say probably what we need to do is to answer a couple of questions. And I see here we've got target audience. Who is that target audience? And in addition to that, also answer the questions that Rose is raising. And on the introductory part, also my comment was going to be, maybe we need to look at a overview from the circular economy principle point of view, to say this is the principle, and maybe that principle then can be part of that introductory course, and then from that principle then we can go to specifics, because irrespective of the anchor economy of any region in the continent, the circular economy principles would be the same. The only difference would be on the actual, application when it comes to specific industries. And also, maybe the reference to Africa in regions, it's approaching its sell by date, because we have a free Africa trade agreement that has been in action, I think, from June. So the last time I checked, only one country has signed the agreement. So maybe that is something that we need to keep in mind as we go forward, to say, how do we, deal with such developments?
Thanks, Tobeka. Anyone more?
If I could just jump in. So I absolutely support everything that's been said, and but I think the one aspect that also needs to be sort of reflected on is the fact that from disciplinary perspectives, circular economy has different meanings. So there's definitely a strong science aspect to it, design aspect, then there's the environmental aspect, and of course then from a business aspect we might come at it differently as well. So an introductory course is useful, but sort of extending and drilling down into circular economy principles is going to have to be thought through at different levels accordingly. And from a commerce perspective, students in the commerce faculty are not necessarily going to grasp the strong science behind circular economy, but would certainly appreciate the business of circular economy and so forth and so on. And therefore, and maybe, but that having been said, there could be scope to create courses that would introduce, from a multidisciplinary perspective, students across different faculties to the different principles, and make them familiar with the different principles without then necessarily having to focus in at a very strong level. But then at each faculty level or disciplinary level, we could then drill down deeper from a specialized perspective. So as Helen's already pointed out, there's certainly interest in our faculty amongst our students to research in the area of circular economy, but it would be from the perspective of business and not necessarily from a different perspective. So that, I think, would also have to be thought through from a course perspective, and how to integrate different disciplines into courses accordingly moving forward. Thank you.
Yeah, I love that. And I think interdisciplinary talks straight to the circular economy. So we definitely need that understanding that an engineer understands humanities and vice versa. I think, Peter, you also had your physical hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Katharina. I suppose I was kind of waiting to input after other people have spoken, so but I guess I can't really hold back. I think, I'm not sure if I circulated before the call, the Footprint Africa learning materials that have been developed recently with Grida Rendell, and so that's another example of material that is already out there. Circular Economy Asia also has quite a very good introductory course, a lot of good material. And Adriana, who developed that, is the one who's keen to develop a global approach to this. And I think one thing we could do, and whoever said, I think Ntobeko, you said, or Rose said something similar about where we're going, what are we aiming at, what would you want to achieve? So the idea of a vision, a picture of a desired future state is important as one element. We also need to see where we are, because I think there's a lot of material out there which actually is open source. So the Footprint Africa material is open source. It's in PDF at the moment, so I don't think you can adapt it, although I need to check that. So to use other people's material, give them credit for it, would be something which I think would be very a good thing to do. In terms of the open source element, I think that it was Rose that mentioned about maybe we start off with the introductory course as being open source, or for students. When it comes to business, maybe things are slightly different. And I think we'll have to get into the bit about funding as we move into the second half of this hour. That if people get a benefit from learning, then there is always an argument that they should make some contribution towards the cost of that learning. There are also people that we know who are thinking about, funding this kind of initiative. So, and when it comes to business, then most businesses do expect to pay for learning. So I think there is quite a long way to go in terms of, do we need to protect any intellectual property? Do we make it open source and anybody can use it under appropriate accreditation? And the involvement of faculty, for me, is a really interesting one, because I think Katerina mentioned to me that you can get faculty's attention by saying we have some funding for this particular development. And so that maybe there's an argument for doing something ourselves, on a let's get started, let's do something based on what's out there and what we can input. Put it to people to say, look, we've done the introductory one, we want to develop different elements of this. Let's find some funding and then get faculty involved, because there's different elements that are going to be needed, as Rob mentioned, all the different disciplines that come into play here. So I think as we move forward and start to think about these things, there's different approaches, and I think we need to explore the options and then come up with something that we can get going on quite quickly. Because I know the foundation, ACEN Foundation, sorry, there's two foundations on the call. The ACEN Foundation is very keen to move forward on this, because the ACEN Foundation is now creating a database of circular economy experts, and they are going to be needing skills training, and this is part of the reason for doing this initiative here. So that's enough from me.
I think you summed it up very nicely and gave us some new things or points to think about. I do think as well that we need to, I'm not sure if we can have one of those online mind maps where we basically point down all the things that we have just discussed. So Peter and I can maybe start creating that, and then people can contribute to that before we have the next meeting. And then we would also need to talk about content outline, course outline, and at least develop an outline and agree on certain steps. And in the meantime, also look for funding possibilities. So I know the Dutch government is also looking at, I think, content development, but I need to ask my contact again. So I think there are various players which we could maybe approach through our networks to see if there's funding available. Because I know as well, when I approach academic, they usually are, where's the funding? Even though I have a lot of them that do contribute a lot of their time in kind. But it is good if we have some kind of support, and it obviously then also starts with online platforms, because I know if you want to have it online, it has to be Scrum competitive, and that's already a few thousand rand. The layout, the videos, it really adds up very quickly. So I do think that we need to at least have the baseline, the outline from where we want to go to the end aim, and then I think we can take it forward from there. So that's my thinking of the next few steps. I'm not sure if someone else thinks differently or has something to add to it as well.
I think when you mentioned the Dutch government, I remember that we had a short chat with Citra, and I think they're looking to develop content with the African Development Bank.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that could be one of the options we could start looking at.
Perfect, yeah.
Yeah, we haven't, that's a very good point, Rose, because there has been talk about that, and also the African Union is now starting to think about some of these things. So there are going to be some large institutions that we would need to connect with. The Dutch government, we've got a call with ACEN has got a call with the contacts that I have through our work with them over a year, or well, actually since Helsinki, when the World Circular Economy Forum met in Helsinki a couple of years ago. I've been discussing with them, and we've got a call tomorrow to see how we can take some of these things forward. So I think certainly, yeah, the Finnish government, the Danish government, I also think the European Union, European Commission would be interested in some of these things. So I think once we've got an idea about what we're looking to do, I think we should definitely involve these other government institutions. So yeah, I agree.
And I think also, even though a lot of the courses are Eurocentric, I think even with the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, you guys have great content or material that we can also partially adapt. I know TU Delft has done a lot on that side. So there we can also link up through our network, I think, with people and see if we can get at least insight or review as well on our content. So I think there's a lot possible that we can do through our networks of networks that we all have and share.
And there is another one which we haven't mentioned, which is the United Nations System Staff College that continues to run. I went to one, and there's been another one run. I think there's another one planned, and that's an 8-week. And it's a community, and there were probably several hundred people on the course. So and I have talked to them about doing something specific for Africa. So again, I think they could be, and also the Norwegian government, through our connections with Gruder Rendell. We know that they're looking to support these initiatives in the global south, and the same with the IKEA Foundation. I think we are well connected to be able to move this forward once we've got something to show people and a clear direction of where we want to go to.
Okay. Tobiko, I think your hand was first, and then I think I see Jocelyn's hand as well.
Yes, for me, just a clarity on the presentation of the course, open source or otherwise, who is going to be presenting the course? So that is the clarity that I would like to get. And then secondly, a comment on Peter's point to say, yes, we need to look into the future, but let's look at where we are. And in that where we are, a couple of things came up, and those things are, there are courses that are already in existence, and how can we gain access to those courses? Either I think Katrina, you're saying maybe we get some guidance or some form of collaboration such that we prevent reinventing the wheel as much as possible.
Great. I think on the, sorry, just Jocelyn, before you start, presentation, who will present the course, I think that's the learning process that we have to go through, and to see which stakeholders are going to present what. We probably can split it up by institutions. I really like, before it was mentioned, to really have case studies. And I really agree, we have to have real life, practical, on the ground examples that make it very understandable for people that want to actually implement the principles themselves. So I think we just need to figure out who is basically then developing what part of the course. Jocelyn.
Okay, yes, thank you, Katrina. I wanted to get some clarity on the way forward, because you said you were going to work on the course outline with Peter and get back to us. Is that so?
Maybe a step back. I think Peter and I will do a mind map of what has been said and the points that have been raised that are obviously unclear. And I think we will then share the mind map so that everyone can contribute to that mind map as well. We will try to capture everything from the meeting on the mind map. And then I think before we have the next meeting, everyone should just contribute to the mind map so that we see how are we going to move forward. Because I think course outline will really need a few other meetings that everyone is also in agreement. And I think before we even do that, we really need to think about the target audience as well. So that's my thinking, but please be free to add.
Can I add my thinking that I'm definitely not going to be involved in writing the course, Jocelyn? So, yeah, please don't make that assumption. I think my my role is one of facilitating moving things forward as quickly as possible, but as well as obviously contributing. But I think just thinking about timing, we need to meet with Arsh, and that's the 30th of July. I think before then, as Katerina says, we'll create this mind map and whatever it may be, which will capture these notes. I've been writing some notes, but to be honest, I'd hate to circulate them because they're pretty meaningless. I think we need to interpret them and put them in some sort of logical format for people to read and contribute towards. And that we will also add then what comes out of the meeting with the African Leadership University, and then move it forward from there. We knew that in an hour we're not really going to achieve a lot, but we need to agree next steps. So that's part of what I think we're trying to do here.
But I do think that we have already a general understanding among the group, which is great. So we are all kind of heading into a similar direction. We just need to consolidate it and then get started with that.
We could have invited other universities, more universities,
yes.
more people. We just wanted to keep it relatively small, just so that we can start and then involve people, other people as needed. ACEN has an academic program. We have academic membership. We have probably about 20 academic institutions that are applying to be members, and they would want to participate in some of this. We also, part of our program is a research group called the Africa Circular Economy Research Group, which is being run in collaboration with the Circular Economy Innovation Partnership in Nigeria. And that's met 2 or 3 times now, but it's far more focused on research rather than curriculum development. Jocelyn, I think, and Helen got their hands up.
Yes, okay. Is it me who is supposed to talk?
Yeah.
Yes, thinking about what would be the content of the course is very important. And I would think if we have to have some stuff in the course, it has to be a picture of what our consumption behavior is doing to the environment. We can have countless videos of what our actions are doing to the environment. Then we can add behavioral change theories. If you work with social marketing academics, most of what they do is, what are the hindrances and what are the helpers in terms of behavioral change. So we have to look at behavioral change theories and policies and work with social marketers because what they do is interdisciplinary. Then the target audience, I would think young people and businesses. So we can look at the top universities in Africa, speak to their VCs about the course, even the VC of Wits University. The last time he spoke to us, one of his visions was to have clean environment around us. Like we have to start thinking about our environments, not just about teaching all of the courses and the performances and everything. So if we speak to some of the VCs in top universities in Africa, they buy the idea, they will filter it down to other divisions and other schools. And young students can take it as an elective course to do it, and they can introduce it as a research area for different departments and different schools. Because there is a movement in the US now, they call it transformative consumer research. And I'm a member of the advisory board. They started publishing papers around transformative consumer research. It's about consumer well-being and the environmental well-being. And they got funding, and what that funding does in various countries, researchers write proposals on how to improve the environment and consumer well-being. In the beginning, we used to have people applying, like 3 or 5 people. Now we are having lots of people around the world. And these researchers don't just get this funding to conduct their research, they are involving other young people into the study, and that spreads. So yeah, let's look at what would be the content and agree on the target audience. If we know the target audience, we would know how to develop the courses. Thank you.
Yeah, I like the idea to get the buy-in of the VCs, because each university has obviously different focus areas, but at the end of the day, we all need a sustainable future to grow an economy. So I think it will be of interest to all of the universities. But there we definitely need to speak to the various management levels as well. But I really like the idea of the human sphere. I think, Peter, you talked to Alex about that as well. And I think that's one main point we definitely need to introduce within circular economy and the social dimension around that, because there's a lot of disagreement on this, and we need to give it the African twist around that, or the African flavor.
Yeah.
Peter, you're muted.
Jocelyn had her hand up.
No, my hand has been brought down.
Okay.
I was just saying I agree very much with what Katrina just said. Adding the social and the human dimension to circular economy will be very much needed in this introductory course, just so we start to change the mindset from the basis, because people have a very twisted understanding of what circular economy is. And I think this is an opportunity for us to bring some correction to that.
Sorry, me again. Just to bring in another, something which is gaining a lot of momentum is Kate Raworth's work on the donut economy. And in the UK, Sky News is doing a climate show every day and a weekly climate podcast. And they had her talking in the context of climate. So, and the climate and the SDGs, there's a lot of other global dimensions to this, which this course could help satisfy.
I love it.
Kate is really, really great. She was my lecturer. She's really, really great.
Yeah. No, I think she has also with Amsterdam, the municipality of Amsterdam actually introduced the donut economy to the city. And I think the Dutch embassy also actually has contact to the embassy, to the municipality. So it would also be great to see how the cities actually transform things. But I mean, there are a million ideas around it, but I really love the idea of introducing also the donut economy linked to the social dimension.
Rather bizarrely, not bizarrely, I met her once at Sussex University and had a chat with her, and I said to her, so do you think the donut economy could be relevant to Africa? Simple question. And she gave a very simple answer. She said yes. So I think, you know, it's already planted in her mind. She's a busy lady these days, but I think the principals, they have quite a gathering now, don't they? A collective. So but to tap in things like that. Yeah.
That's perfect. Okay, I think looking at the time, we have 6 minutes left. Is there anything else anyone wants to mention, to point out that just came up in your mind? I think we are all now connected to one another.
Is Helen Hans is up.
Is that old or new hand, Helen?
Okay. I think I was thinking once we have like the mind map, or the next time we meet, once maybe some things are clear in our audience, and maybe we could have like small group discussions of people envisioning how this course should look like. And like each group could think about what the course should look like and why should the visions and everything. And then maybe that could be helpful in a way.
Yeah, maybe we could even look at other courses as well, how they have structured it so far. I think that would be a nice baseline we could start working off and basically twist.
When do we wish to have this course, like maybe a first draft or?
Good question. That's an answer I'm trying to avoid. I think, Peter, you said we're meeting with Ash on the 30th of July.
Yeah.
So then after that, we should maybe in the first week of August have a next meeting with everyone.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm quite keen to obviously fix it after for then, because Rose, you'll remember at the Rise Africa session that EMF did, AOU did some very interesting breakout work, which was getting the youngest person in the room to put forward an idea, and then everybody helped them create this circular idea. So I think I'd be really, in the principle of walking the talk, how can we bring circularity into our own process here? How, in terms of developing the curriculum, how can we bring the experience for students into the development of this course? So I'm sort of a bit of a mad idea, but I know that Arsh and others will have some really innovative ways of us working together to achieve a really good result.
Because I was also thinking, like, so our program, the Inside the Circular Economy, is running from the 6th of October. Maybe that might be before, but there might be a lot of lessons to learn and unlearn in that course. So it would be great to attend when we can and see how, Yeah,
I think that's the course that's focusing on Africa, right? Because they are
focusing.
I've registered for it, so I want to see how it is structured, because I was curious exactly about that.
Is that the link you put in the chat, Rose?
Yeah, that link is for like registration of interest. So once the re-registration opens up, we shall email those ones who registered interest. It's not a bad turn up so far. We have about 120 people who have responded, and most of them are from South Africa and Kenya.
We need to change that. Okay. But I think we can definitely learn from that. That would be really nice to see. And also actually to ask the participants, I'm sure you have already planned that, but to get their insights, what they're missing.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Many lessons to learn and unlearn during that tour. And maybe it would also be an opportunity, if we've moved somewhere in the process, maybe talk about it at some point, and so that people can know that it's in the pipeline. And
Okay. Then I think we will just send out a new meeting invite for the first week of August. Is that okay with everyone? Is everyone still relatively available? I know calendars fill up so quickly. Or second week of August maybe, so that we can, because the 30th is a Friday.
Yeah.
So if we can do from the 2nd of August.
Yep. Any particular days anybody would like us to avoid?
Sounds.
Okay.
I think.
Okay,
yeah.
No?
Yes, I was saying Tuesday the 3rd for me. Okay. If you can avoid that, that would be great.
Yeah. Okay.
We can maybe do it. Hang on. Today is Wednesday, right? Okay. I'm sometimes a day ahead. So maybe we can do Wednesday again.
Yeah. Let's fix a time now. Put it in the diaries, and then if we need to change, we need to change. But what was the time today? 11 o'clock. So
we can do 11 again if everyone's happy.
So that's that's 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
Europe time, South African time. Be 11 o'clock Cameroon, UK.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. I also just want to end with a circular thought, that there's a great the idea about reusing can be applied to curriculum development. I think someone calls it light plagiarism or something similar, circular plagiarism. So because there are people, we just use other people. What have we got that we can use again?
I think Justin.
Materials.
Rose is gone.
Yeah, Rose is gone. She sent her apologies.
Okay.
Peter, you're asking what have we gotten that we can reuse in terms of materials, available materials?
Yeah.
Okay.
You and I have talked about that, Jocelyn. You've got quite a bit
Yes.
I think we can. So it's just a thought that let's, I think Rebecca mentioned it. Let's not prevent the war.
It's not plagiarism if you get the approval and if we engage with the parties. I mean, we also recycle all funding applications if they don't go through. That's what you do. Otherwise, you don't work efficiently.
Okay.
So no, I think that's fine. Okay. I also actually need to go. I have my next meeting starting. Sorry about that. But I think we have a way forward. And if there are questions, just I think drop an email. We are all now connected, luckily.
Okay. Brilliant. Thank you, everybody. It's been really helpful.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.